Hey, everybody, it's the least creative way they could come up with a villain.
Welcome to our review of episode 9 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard, or as I can finally call it with complete fairness, Terry's Toy Box.
Shut up.
I've been waiting for a good excuse to say that all season, and every time I thought, okay, I'm going to say it this week, then the episode was actually kind of good, and then it was like, oh no, this is definitely some Terry's Toy Box shit. I'm joined as always by my very good friend Jason Harding, who is joining us from the road.
I'm in Los Angeles, everybody.
Yeah, you're in Los Angeles being a big shot. Yeah,
and from the blandness of the decoration, I'm back on board the Enterprise D.
Hey, which is a possibility apparently. Okay, so you want to do a quick recap and then talk about whatever this was?
Sure. Jack's got Borg in him, and he goes back to the Borg, and the Borg goes, guess what? You got Borg in you. And then they stick needles in him, and his eyes turn black. But meanwhile, it turns out everybody's got Borg in them if you're under the age of 25. And it's Frontier Day. And then we see what's her face get shot. What's her name?
Shelby.
Shelby gets shot. And then all the Borg take over all the young people, and all the young people start trying to kill all the old people. And all the old people get away. I'm sorry, but that's what happens.
That's what happens. That's the plot of the show.
That young people suck and they try to destroy things that are good.
You can't trust the young people because they'll just turn on you. And and
then they get
a very Star Trek theme.
Yeah. And then we go back to Geordi's work, and it turns out that he has rebuilt the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
And then they spend 15 minutes licking it, and then they fly away. And as I told Steve, this maybe has one of my favorite Star Trek jokes ever in it.
Yes, Data has a good line.
My laugh out loud, boy, that was funny. Thank you, Brent Spiner, for knowing how to deliver that joke.
Yes. And we should also mention you suffered a personal loss. During this episode.
I did. One of the only characters that I really give a shit about, really liked, is DEAD Dad.
Yep, Captain Shaw.
Maybe.
Well, you have your fingers crossed. I have to say, as you know, I had come around on Captain Shaw too. I liked Captain Shaw. And if it was a better show, I probably would have given a shit that they killed him.
Yeah. I still give a shit
because I think he came around and was,
I thought he was a fantastic character.
I thought he was a good character, and I thought Todd Stashwick playing him has done very good.
We don't know. We don't know he's dead.
That's
true. We don't know. Seven could have saved him somehow. Seven and Rafi got back together, and their love, their passionate lovemaking in front of his corpse. Kept him back. That's right. It kept his interest. Hey, I might kick off, but I'm going to pay attention to this.
He was like, lesbians?
Because they're still on the Titan.
That's right. They're still on the Titan. While all the heroic old people escaped to the Enterprise D.
That's right. And now they're all on the Enterprise D, including Majel Barrett.
Yes, including Majel Barrett.
You didn't notice that, did you?
I did notice that.
You just can't give her anything, can you?
I remember. She's
thing.
It's good that they found a way to include her, and she's playing the role that as an actress she was the best suited for, dryly reading flat lines in a monotone voice.
Lwaxana Troi isn't everyone's favorite character. In point of fact, I'm sure that when it comes to fandoms of characters on Star Trek, that Lwaxana Troi is probably not anybody's.
I don't know how she ranks among other characters, but I do know there are quite a few Trekkies who absolutely adore her.
No, okay, that's good.
Yeah, sure. To each their own. So anyway, so yeah.
Not even Nurse Chapel, huh? You just right across the
No,
board.
I like the new Nurse Chapel so much better. I like the character much better with the personality.
Even when she played number one in the first.
Number one, I'll give her no, and she's fine as number one in the Cage. Yes, the Cage and number she's fine as number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there you go. So anyway,
right. Okay. Whatever. Steve didn't like the episode.
No, I didn't like the episode. No, I will say this. I didn't think it was as bad as the first episode of this season, but it's bad in the same way, and it has the same problems that episode 1 had. And it's just like it's like a repository of all of the things about this season that I don't like. It's like they took all of the things about this season that I don't like, and they gathered them up into one big pile, and they said, "Here's this episode."
They said, "Here, Steve, eat it. You'll like it. Eat it."
It's like, I guess if all you care about is seeing the old ship again and seeing them on the ship, then this will make you happy. And if it did, I'm very happy for you. Personally, I found it incredibly cynical and manipulative, not to mention like about the least creative thing they could have possibly done. And also they're fighting the Borg again. So they're fighting the Borg again.
It's
and they're fighting the Borg
voice at the very least.
We were talking about that. You don't actually see the Borg Queen's face, but you hear her voice, and it does sound like they got Alice Creek to do the voice, but I don't know if she was in the credits or not, because I don't watch the credits of this fucking show. But yeah, I was not a fan. For the most part, I just found it dull. Like I was bored by it. I was like, I feel like we're supposed to watch this and be like, oh, everything's built up to this, and oh my god, and it's like, it's just a bunch of fucking references and Easter eggs, and it's a bunch of, it's like, oh, guess what? The Borg are behind the door. Oh, great, the Borg
again.
It's different this time because now everybody's assimilated. Like it's the most. I used the term creatively bankrupt a couple shows ago, and you kind of giggled at me. I feel like creatively bankrupt is an appropriate term to use again.
I don't know if it's. Here's the frustrating part of this.
Okay, please.
I like the character writing. I still like the character writing.
I like some of the character writing in this.
I really like this new take on Data. I really do.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's very much Data, but he also has some he's not as when he got his emotions in the movies, he became very cartoonish. Right? And this one, it's more the reason why that joke hit. So if you guys haven't seen it, why are you watching this? But it's when they get into the shuttle and Geordi says, what is it? Because Data's just stating facts. We're not going to get out of
it's
this.
Like one shuttle against the entire fleet or something.
We're going to, whatever. And then Data comes back with this optimistic, but still very horrible thing where he says, well, at least it's something like, at least they'll kill us quickly. And he hits it perfectly.
He says it as though it's like looking on the bright side. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the character writing is still there now that we know what's going on with Jack, and boy, they drug that out at the beginning.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was almost as if they knew that there were going to be certain people that were going to be disappointed that it was the Borg. Right?
Yeah.
They were just going to be like, oh, it's the Borg.
Well, and here's the thing. They made this shit up. If they were worried about it, they should have just had it be something else.
Yeah, but
like how about that, Terry? How about we can't just tell them it's the Borg right away. People might be disappointed. Well, then maybe you, as the fucking writer, should make up something better so that people won't be disappointed.
Number one, if you're going to be this angry at him, don't call him Terry.
Well, what should I call him?
Call him by his last name and put a Mr. in front of it. Mr. Metalis, that's right.
Mr. Metalis, you put a Mr. in front of my name.
You guys aren't friends. You were never friends. You never believed him in the first place.
I didn't. I never had it. I
You
feel
had zero
vindicated.
faith,
I
know.
feel vindicated. I was like, I told you, motherfuckers. I told you there was nothing to this. There was no center. It was all hollow bullshit fan service.
Don't care. I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it.
No, I'll tell you what. You
To a certain extent, I will honestly say I'm disappointed that it's the Borg. Okay, I really am. I'm disappointed that it is the Borg. I was really hoping for anything else other than the Borg. I wish it was Damon Bach. Anybody.
How about here's a crazy idea. Vadic. I mean, as much as I don't like the fact that they use changelings, Vadic herself as a character is an interesting villain, is an interesting presence on screen. Amanda Plummer is, did a really good job with that character. She was something other than the changeling connection. She was something new and fresh we hadn't seen before. She didn't have like a fucking decades long connection to Picard or anybody else. No. How about just make her the villain? Instead of, well, she's, sort of the top lieutenant of the real villain, and the real villain is the villain that we've seen a million fucking times before. You know? Why not? Yeah. But I wanted to mention something about, because you said the character writing. Sure. And I liked some of it. But in this episode in particular, it seemed like characters had the habit of just flatly spelling out what should have been the subtext in the scene. Like there's the scene where Picard goes after Deanna sees the Borg behind the door in Jack's brain, but Jack can't see that because even though it's his brain, when Deanna goes and peeks in the door, Jack doesn't see like what's behind it. So Jack doesn't know what's in his own head, which is just the stupidest thing ever. But whatever, that's the way they decided to do it. So everybody knows it's Borg in Jack's head except Jack. So Picard goes to Jack's room and he's like, "Hey, it's Borg. Sorry, my bad. I passed Borg on to you because they rewrote my DNA or whatever." And Jack basically says, "Oh, how ironic that I, the one who eschewed connection for my entire life, should be drawn to the collective." And I'm just like, could you maybe have let us get there ourselves? Like, are you so like, "Oh, guys, this is really clever. This thing I did with Jack. Check it out. You know how he's like been kind of away from everybody, but actually he's the collective. Ooh, I have to tell you." It's like the shittiest fucking, look how clever I am writing. And, and I think I can't remember the specific example, but they did it one more time too that I mentioned when we were writing it. With Vox. Oh, yes. God damn it. They had to have the fucking Borg Queen explain, because her name for Jack, because Picard was Locutus. So she's like, "I have a name for you, Jack." The writing is just fucking god awful. You want to know what your name is? It's Vox. You know why I called you Vox? Because Vox means voice, whereas Locutus just means one who speaks, but you're not one who speaks. You're the voice itself. It's like, just explain every fucking thing. Let us all know how fucking clever you think you are. Vox, we can't figure that out. We can't derive any significance ourselves from that. We need to have a character literally tell us what it means and why it's so clever. It's just,
and don't forget when she told him what the name of the Borg cube was.
Oh, what? I didn't even catch that. What did she say the Borg cube's name was?
Deus Machina.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that one we should have guessed. That one we should have guessed. But yeah, it's garbage. It's unimaginative, flat, useless, pointless, pandering garbage.
I don't think it's pandering.
You don't think having them come out onto the fucking bridge of the Enterprise D in the last scene is pandering? And then when they're supposedly like Earth is about to be assimilated by a Borg fleet, and they, like you even said, they take 15 minutes to take a stroll around the fucking carpet, so that all the Trekkies spanking it to this scene can have time to come before the final.
You just hate everybody, right? You just hate everybody.
No. Listen.
Oh my God.
Listen. I love Star Trek.
I know you.
I love Star Trek. But you know this about. I don't like being treated like an idiot. I don't like being insulted. And I don't like being treated.
How we're friends, I have no idea, but yes.
I know, right? And I don't like being treated like a child. And this show is treating me like a child. It's treating me like, oh, I know what you want. You want to see the show you liked when you were a kid. Well, here's the ship. Look, they're back in the same seats. Look, they're back in the same places. It's treating me like a child.
Episode 2, though.
They shouldn't have done it at all.
Well, sure.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to.
No.
This is the Terry. People made this up. They didn't have to do any of this. They could have told an original story with these characters that actually meant something, instead of just a prolonged exercise to, take them on this long winding road just to get them back physically to where they were 30 years ago. I
didn't feel insulted. I have a different theory about this.
Okay, please.
And it's the problem. It's a problem not just with the Borg. It's a problem with Star Trek writing in sometimes in general.
Okay.
Unless they come up with something new. Everyone wants to go. There are certain writers out there that said, oh, I wish they had done this with the Borg. Oh, I wish they had done this with the Borg. Oh, they should have done this with the Borg. Oh, I'm going to get a chance to write the Borg, and I'm going to do this with the Borg. They tried it with the Romulans. It didn't really work. But there were plenty of people who got plenty of bites at the apple for the Klingons, right?
Yes.
Oh, now that we've established this about the Klingons, let's do this about the Klingons. Let's do this about the Klingons. And they had Star Trek: The Next Generation and DS9 to expand on Klingon culture. Now, if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you did it. But we had plenty of opportunity to let it breathe, to occur naturally, right?
Yeah.
We got the Borg a little bit in TNG, right?
Yes. Which is why it worked in TNG.
Best of both worlds, and then poor old Hugh, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the extent. Oh, and
the one with Lore, when Lore was like leading the little group of Borg there, when Hugh came back. Yeah.
But that was about it. And then, thank God, nothing in DS9.
No.
But they came roaring back with Voyager.
Yes, they did.
And they're like, oh, let's do this with the Borg, and let's do this with the Borg. Last season, they said, let's do this with the Borg. And which we have one of the strangest lines in this episode, which is the Borg aren't a threat. We haven't seen or heard from them in who knows how long. It's like, motherfucker, you just did this whole thing last year, remember?
Yeah, the Borg Queen was on your spaceship like a year ago. It
became a great big happy holding hands brainwash commune.
Yeah. Oh, but those were different Borg. That's another thing. That's another side effect of what you're talking about. Because some other writer had this great idea for the Borg, and it's like, okay, so now that's over there somewhere too.
But while I am disappointed that it's the Borg, I'm not angry. I'm not investing that much emotion into it. I'm not angry. The show went along. They went, okay, here's the thing, and now we're going to keep going forward. And I'm like, okay, fine. All right, fine. This is what it is. Give me something, give me something that makes me happy about the characters. Because to me, it's always boiled down to the characters. When they get the characters wrong and I don't like what they're doing and I don't understand what they're doing and they're not acting like the characters that they're supposed to be, which, let's face facts, that's been the problem with Picard 1 and 2. Picard hasn't really been Picard. Picard has been weepy nostalgic Picard over Data in season 1, and then weepy nostalgic Picard over Mom who killed herself in season 2. And then he's been fine, and this one has been all right. But I know some people get really upset because they don't like him cussing, and it's like, what are you, this motherfucking his dead mom?
Yeah. He's fucking 90 years. He's 90 years old and a robot now. Let him say whatever the fuck he wants.
Walked around and called everyone a cunt, I wouldn't care. He's old. He's
old. Old people talk that way. They just let him go.
And he forgets names, and he uses cuss words when he can't remember them.
Yeah.
That's why he kept calling Geordi blind. Hey, you blindy. And he's like, Blindy. We've been friends for 40 years.
We've known each other for decades, Jean-Luc. Whatever, Blindy.
Where did Geordi go? And he has to put on his old visors. Yes, sir.
Look, it's me.
Oh, Geordi!
Hey, there's a bit of fan service. I'm sure that they pitched to LeVar Burton and he vetoed. I'm sure that somebody at some point said, "Hey, can we get you back in the visor?" And LeVar Burton said, "No."
Maybe. Who knows?
I guarantee you that was brought up in a meeting, even if it wasn't actually, even if it didn't get to the point where they talked to LeVar Burton about it. I guarantee you somebody brought it up.
There was no
because
reason.
Why would they put him on the fucking Enterprise D?
Because everyone wanted this is a reunion show, and they wanted it to be on the show.
Don't think the same people that jizzed in their pants over the Enterprise D would jizz in their pants if they saw LeVar Burton put on that fucking visor and it was shot in slow motion from 5 different angles?
I don't know.
As the theme swelled.
If there's such thing as angry jizz, you'd do it, but I don't know because I think sometimes you just live for this show to piss you the fuck off. That's what I
would love nothing more. I would love nothing more than for this to be a good show.
I know.
I would love nothing more than for this to be a good show.
And while I agree that this episode was disappointing because of its selection of the villain, it was fine. It was fine. It was fine. I'm pissed off that they killed Shaw, who was arguably one of the best characters they've created in all 3 seasons of Picard.
Yeah, I agree with you. Shaw grew on me after that first episode. I didn't like him, and I didn't like anything in the first episode. But after the first episode, he really grew on me. Well, and you've mentioned that we still have 1 episode to go, so who knows how it'll end? I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure everything will turn out great.
Everything will be fine.
The whole season.
Yeah. I can't wait to see how angry you get to whatever the resolution's going to be. I really can't. I hope it's what's.
I wonder how many more pointless "oh, look who it is" cameos they'll cram into it before the end.
Well, if you hadn't told me that it was Shelby, I wouldn't have noticed or cared. I still don't care.
There's no reason. There's no reason to care because there's no reason to care other than to recognize who it is.
Sure.
Which is why I don't like it. It's like look, ooh, everybody, ooh, look who it is. Like,
yeah, but I mean,
what are we doing here?
Until you told me, I didn't know. It was just some lady talking.
No, because we were talking, and they verbally identified her as Admiral Shelby. That's
someone had to convince you to take the gun out of your mouth. I'm sorry, I missed the dialogue.
I knew I could count on you. But no, you mentioned, what was wrong with the first 2 seasons. And I do agree with you. I do think there were, the way in which they wrote Picard, it felt like yet another different version of that character. Because, we talk about how he feels like a different person in the movies as opposed to the TV show. And then and now in this, it's like, and he's yet another person now. But, it's like it's been 30 years and people age and grow and change. And that didn't bother me as much. But I think it may be an example of the producers learning the wrong lesson from people not being as thrilled with the first 2 seasons as they hoped they would be. I think clearly going into this 3rd season, the thought was, oh, okay, people don't want a show just with Picard. They want a show with everybody. And obviously people do because, people do. But the problem with the first 2 seasons of Picard wasn't that the other TNG characters weren't in it. The problem with the first 2 seasons of Picard, especially the 2nd season, is that they were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
they were badly written and you wound up not giving a shit what happens at all.
Yeah. If they were better written pieces of drama.
Here's the difference. I give a shit what happens. I'm actually kind of want Jack to live. I know that everything else is disappointing, that it's the Borg, that, oh God, I wish it wasn't the Borg. Oh, look, the Borg Queen is still alive, even though I've seen Jean-Luc Picard snap her fucking neck. I know all of that. I'm disappointed that they went to the Borg, but I still care. I give a shit. I want to see how they get. The Earth is about to be attacked by Starfleet, which has never happened. At any point did we ever worry? Shit, Starfleet is about to attack Earth. That's never happened. Okay,
no.
Point in their column. That's never happened before. I give a shit about what's going to happen next. I give a shit.
I like Jack. And like I'll say the same thing about Jack as I said about Shaw. If it was a better show, I would care what happened to Jack.
And I am saying
I mean, I'll give you an example. As far as like the, all of Starfleet has been assimilated and they're about to attack Earth, and that's never happened before. You're right that that's never happened before, but here's why I don't care. It's like when you're watching, and I know you can't relate to this personally because you're not a wrestling fan, but I think you'll understand what I'm getting at.
It's all fake bullshit.
Yes, it is. But when you watch a wrestling match and the wrestlers, instead of having a match and trying to involve the audience in some kind of story that they're telling through their match, they start doing ever escalating stunts, where like they'll pull out a table and they'll throw somebody through a table, and then once they've done a table spot, that's not big enough, so now you have to have 2 tables, and then that's not big enough, so now you
climb to the top of the tower in the ring.
Exactly. So now you have to have, now there's ladders and there's tables across the ladders, and then there's chairs piled up underneath, and
he's climbed to the tower with a chair. What is he going to
do? And there's thumbtacks all over the place, and it's like,
who let the bull loose? What's going to happen now?
Exactly. And when you see enough of that, like, it just doesn't even matter. It's like, it doesn't make it more interesting that, oh no, now there's 5 tables. I don't care anymore. You can up the spectacle and the danger and the ludicrousness as much as possible. I still don't care.
Now, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've seen the Borg attack Earth a whole bunch of times. I've seen our heroes, run twice in very prominent stories, right?
Once on the TV show and once in the movies.
Oh, okay. So since they're only repeating themselves for the 3rd time, I mean, anyway, the point is, we've been here before. We've seen this before, right?
Oh, I love this. I love it.
This time it's different because this time it's everybody. This time they've turned all of Starfleet against them. And it's just like, look, guys, I don't care. You've lost me. This is fiction. There is no Earth. Nothing is attacking Earth. It's a made up imaginary. It's not in this show. It's a made up imaginary show. There's no Starfleet. There's no Earth. These people aren't real.
But you cared about other things. And that's all been made up then too.
Yeah, but my point is, if the show has not done its work to get me to care about these characters in this show, and it hasn't, then I don't care. First of all, there's no suspense. Gee, do you think the good guys are going to defeat the Borg? Like, it's not like even if I was worried about what was going to happen to this made up fictional version of Earth, I don't have any.
I hope they all die. Even Geordi's kids. Everyone dies in the next episode.
Oh yeah. I've said before, I wish they would just kill everybody, so then they can't use them for future shows. Like that's. I feel like we have. That's, you know what? It's like I wish this wasn't necessary, but this has to be done because otherwise you'll just keep bringing people back. So guess what? Everybody's dead now. Everybody's dead now.
Clean slate everything.
I wish it wasn't necessary, but apparently it is. Anyway, you were gonna say something.
I don't remember. Oh, you remind me of the people who complained about the Dominion War. People were complaining about the Dominion War because, how it's gotten too big. We can't have something this large. We can't have a war this size. How many more times do we have to see fleets gathering at the end of the season to go fly off and attack, the Dominion forces? And I heard some of the same arguments. Nothing's going to happen. Blah 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 blah. That the good guys are going to win at the end. They kind of fucked over everybody and said, Cisco's not coming back. Fuck you. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing.
He won the Dominion War, but guess what? He's not done.
But here's the thing about that. And maybe we feel differently about this. I don't know, but like, I didn't give a shit about the fleets gathering during the Dominion War. I wasn't super impressed by that. Like, I don't give a shit. I cared about the outcome.
It didn't get you amped up.
Not really. I I cared about the outcome of the Dominion War because I cared about those characters in that show. I cared about winning the Dominion War because I cared about what happened to Captain Sisko, because I cared about what happened to Odo, because I cared about what happened to, to Worf. Like,
there's a part of me that does give a shit about the Federation and Starfleet. There is a part of me that actually gives a shit about the fake made-up institutions and the fake made-up planets that make up the Star Trek universe. And so when you see the first time they showed, Starfleet vessels and Romulan vessels and Klingon vessels moving together into a fleet, I went, oh yeah, go kick some ass. Oh, this is good, because I'd never seen it before. And it was predicated on at that point, 25, 30 years of history leading up to that point that I gave a shit about. And so, without
and
all
also
of that,
it was the culmination of storylines in that show.
Sure.
I mean, the Romulans showing up meant something because that had been a story in that show.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things about me and you and canon is that, for example, in the Pale Moonlight, which has been called the greatest episode of Star Trek ever made, doesn't exist without the canon preceding it, which is our relationship with the Romulans. And the way that the universe has been brought together at this point, all the different desperate criminal organizations that he has to get together. The history of the Cardassians and the Obsidian Order, which is, let's face facts, Garak has never lost his training when it came to that.
Right.
It was a foregone conclusion as far as Garak was concerned that he was going to kill everybody involved.
Of course. Because Garak's a guy you can count on.
But they use that canon to turn it into an important character moment for Sisko, right? That was like the main. The ultimate impact of that is Sisko's acceptance about what he did at the end of that episode, because it was for the quote unquote greater good. But that episode doesn't exist without that preceding canon, without the arrogance of the goddamn Romulans, without this is the lengths we're going to have to go in order to trick them into joining the Dominion War. And so I think what's lacking in this is that sense of history. Are we getting member berries just because we oh, look, it's the Enterprise D? Sure. But didn't we both predict that we were going to see the Enterprise D at the beginning of this season?
I will own up to being wrong about something, because we both predicted it in our first episode review, in our episode 1 review. I was wrong though. I figured they would wait until episode 10 to bust out the D, but they did it in episode 9. So mea culpa. See, I was wrong.
Good job. Wrong. Yeah, he admits that he was wrong about his opinion about the entire season. Isn't that great, everybody? No. He loves it. Steve loves the show. Quick, turn it off. Turn it off. We're going to end with that. Steve loves the show. End it. Turn off the thing.
Episode 4 was good. And it's just been a slide downhill ever since. Episode 4 was very good, and we both thought episode 4 was good. Remember when we agreed that episode 4 was very good?
Yes, Steve, I remember when we agreed. The only problem I have is that we can't both be enjoying this together, but boy, it gives me nothing but joy to see your disappointment and anger as it keeps going. And I'm just kind of like, it's a TV show. I mean,
I will say this. I'm enjoying watching it with you. I'm enjoying talking about it with you. Like, there's nothing about this experience that I consider remotely negative. I mean, because look, at the end of the day, for me, and the way I think about it, I mean, you have liked it a lot more than I have. I have, other than a couple of episodes and a couple of little things here and there that have been sprinkled in that I have liked. For the most part, I haven't thought it was very good. But at the end of the day, it's a lousy Star Trek show, and I've seen those before. And it's not going to ruin my day. It's not going to ruin my life. It is what it is. It's a lousy Star Trek show.
It's giving
me, for the first time.
It's giving me the character stuff that I want. It's giving me the stuff that I want. It's not so awful that I'm constantly rolling my eyes or gritting my teeth or being angry. Am I disappointed in some aspects of it? Of course I am. I really wish it was anything. Shit, at this point, I wish it was Armis. That would at least would have been something, right? But, and is it the Borg again? Gah. They have one episode to convince me that it was a good idea to bring the Borg back.
Yeah.
They have one last episode to convince me this is why we brought the Borg back, because after this episode, they're totally fucking dead everywhere, every single one of them, including that murderer who's now a Borg queen on her own little Borg ship.
I would love just a sideline of dialogue, like in the last few seconds. Oh, and by the way, those Borg that Jurati has, they're dead too. Anyway, let's go. Let's move on.
Oh yeah, Jurati died screaming, begging for forgiveness when she murdered that guy.
That really bothered you.
That really bothered you. It really bothered me. What bothered me more is she fucking got away with it.
Yeah.
You tell me. Hey, Steve, what was going on with Jurati that made her kill him?
She was mind melded. She was influenced by a Vulcan or a Romulan mind meld.
No, that's not how mind melds work.
Well, that's how it worked in that show.
Do you know how many McCoy would have just been walking around the fucking ship constantly saying how right Spock was if that's how fucking mind melds work?
Spock would have just been like, come here for a second. All right, there we go.
There we go.
Problem solved.
No, she had a mind meld. She got spooky scared, and then she murdered a dude who she supposedly was in love with at some point in a horrific, prolonged way. And then they're like, "Oh, you're fine. You're fine." No,
it was Picard.
No,
it
jail
was Picard
time for you.
It was Picard season 1. Horrific, prolonged deaths were kind of what they did in the first season.
And they wanted us to forgive her in the same season.
Yeah, it is, and it's difficult to, when the character, even within the fiction, when the character doesn't really suffer any consequences, like it's difficult to be like, well, I guess we can let it slide, Yeah,
and then they used it in episode 2 for her to be upset face, so upset face that she becomes the Borg queen, or whatever the fuck she is at the end of the episode.
She's Borg queen.
She's a Borg queen.
I will say
this Borg queen.
I will say this. I will give the writers of season 3 this much grace. They will have to work pretty hard to come up with a take on the Borg in the remaining episode of this season that is as dumb as what they did with the Borg in season 2, because that was awful. That was bad. That was awful and pointless. And again, it was like an end of the season thing that we were supposed to go, oh, it's all been building to this, and it was terrible. Anyway,
it's more in following with the philosophy of Star Trek.
Yes,
that former enemies become friends.
Former enemies become friends. Right? Now they had to do it in the most contrived, horrible, bullshit way possible, but their heart, I suppose, was in the right place.
Well, their heart was kind of in the right place. Oh, the Borgs, we're going to be friends with the Borgs now, and only people who want to become a Borg will become a Borg.
Yeah.
Who wants that? I don't know, but some people might want that.
and you know what? I mean, again, I think that's a dumb idea. But if you do that, and then we just never see the Borg again?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then again, I've thought that about like the last 3 or 4 Borg stories I've seen on Star Trek. It's like, okay, fine. And then this will be the last time we ever see the Borg, right? Right? Right?
So long as you have Picard, eventually the Borg are going to show up.
Yeah. So
right?
No.
Because of 2 episodes in season 3 and season 3 and 4.
And like you said, or like we said earlier, I mean, the Borg haven't really worked as villains since the movie First Contact. And some people would even argue that and say that was a bridge too far. They haven't really, really worked since The Best of Both Worlds in TNG because of the way those characters are, because of the nature of that threat. The more you bring them back and the more they have to lose, the less interesting they are. They're not scary anymore.
I like the Hughes storyline.
Yeah, but really see, Hugh, that's what. But what was so brilliant about the Hugh episode was it was kind of like they went around it. They were able to tell, and it's similar to what they've done because you mentioned the Klingons earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why, because I mean, look, not all Klingon-centered stories in Star Trek have been good. There have been a lot of lousy Klingon episodes.
All of them have been great. Every single one.
But there have been, I think they get away with bringing Klingons back more frequently than they do with Borg because of the way the Klingons are. You know,
you can do different things with the Klingons.
Yeah. The appeal of the Klingons isn't, I mean, the appeal of the Borg to me has always been pretty one-dimensional. And I don't mean that as an insult. That's just the nature of the threat. They're the unbeatable enemy. They're the scary enemy that, you know, none of the usual Star Trek shit works with them. You can't negotiate with them. They're more powerful than you. They're smarter than you. There's more of them than you. Diplomacy is a waste of time. They are relentless. And they don't want to talk to you. They just want to overtake you and consume you. Mm-hmm. And that's a really scary idea. And the fact that they're pretty much impossible to defeat, right? Mm-hmm. So you do your one big Borg story where the heroes pull out a miracle and somehow manage to defeat them, and then you just never use them again because you're never going to top that because you've told the story. With you, they managed to get around it because the Borg themselves weren't really a threat in that episode. I mean, they were sort of an off-screen threat. It was like, oh, if the Borg show up, we're in trouble. But the Borg never really showed up until the very end when they were putting Q back.
Starfleet was the threat.
That's true, yes.
Did something interesting.
They were going to...
Jean-Luc was like, genocide all of them. and enough people went, what? What do you want to do with you? You want them to turn them into a bomb and kill all the Borg? Yes, all the Borg.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, kill them all. Okay.
The other water will become a sea of Borg blood, and we'll wade through.
Cool. Okay.
All right, Jean-Luc,
we'll just get right on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I think we're going along. We're probably testing the patience of your audience.
That's true. Yeah. So we have one episode to go, and then Terry will put his toys away.
8 great episodes down. One terrible opening episode.
You are the target audience for this, buddy. I don't know.
You know what? Maybe it's my age. Maybe I've given up stuff, but something has to be truly. I have to feel like not only did they waste my time, a whole whopping 54 minutes of wasting my time, but they didn't do anything that like made me angry. And what makes me angry is when they go against the characters or they do something that just, it just feels like a waste of my time watching it. Like, I'll say it again, Picard season 2. Every single episode I felt like,
which I agree completely about that.
What the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, I agree completely about that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And unless they really tank the last episode, this season has at least been an improvement on season 2.
Completely shit the bed. And it's like, what the hell?
They shit the bed even more than I think they already have, which will be difficult. But
he wakes up in the vineyard, and his Romulan girlfriend is like, you tossed in your sleep all night. And he went, I had the most horrible dream. And then the sparks shoot out of his head and he falls down and the robot's dead and it's the end. And then we have to sit through the fucking reunion of the cast again to go to his funeral.
No. He wakes up in his bedroom back at Chateau Picard. He hears a shower. He hears a shower running. He gets up, walks into the bathroom and the person in the shower turns around. And it's Captain Shaw. And he says, good morning.
I know. Here's the one I want. We get to a point where everything's blowing up and it's in slow motion. He's on the bridge and then he wakes up. And Suzanne Plachette asks him if everything's okay.
I had the strangest dream.
And they turn on the light, and it's Bob Newhart at a million gajillion. I have no idea how old he is now.
It's literally Bob Newhart. It's not even Patrick Stewart. It's just we're doing the ending of Newhart again.
She's like, honey.
I dreamed I was Patrick Stewart, and I was really old, and I was the captain of a starship, but I was also kind of a robot. It was really confusing.
and I was doing it with this really hot Romulan woman. Oh, just go to bed, Bob. Okay. And then you have the exact line from the end of Newhart.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
How hot of a Romulan woman?
How hot of a Romulan woman? Do it.
Mm-hmm. No.
Do it, you cowards.
We'll see. Probably they'll be happy. They're gonna gift them the Enterprise D.
Yeah, no, what it'll be is Scott Bakula will walk out and say computer end program, and the last episode is him running a holodeck of Picard.
Okay, explain that how. He's in the past.
No,
how?
But here's the thing. Here's the secret. I wouldn't.
He wouldn't explain a damn thing. Just to
I
get
wouldn't explain a damn thing. And the next time I was and if I got invited to a con and they said, "What was the ending of Picard all about?" Well, how was Captain Archer there? I would just say, "Hey, you watched the same show I did." I don't know. It is what it is. You saw it. You watched it. What do you think it meant? I don't know. So anyway, we'll be back next week for a review.
I literally unplugged my headphones so I didn't have to listen to you bitch and moan anymore. Sick of this. Sick of this, you big Star Trek crybaby. Not everything's made for you.
We'll be back next week.
Rename the show
next week.
Steve the Big Star Trek Crybaby. I dare you.
We'll be back next week for a review of episode 10. For the last episode.
Where Steve and I will have a knife fight.
Jason's coming here in person and we're going to settle this mano a mano. No, so okay. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye. Next time I'll be in Nome, Alaska.
Ooh, where's Jason?
I'm not. God, please no. This connection was bad enough. I'm surprised we managed to do the show at all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.